تو که آتش کده عشق و محبت بودی چه بلا رفت که خاک سر خام شدی تو به سر نغمه زبان بودی و دلان نمیگوش چه شنفتی که زبان بستی و خودگوش شدی خلق را گرچه وفا نیست ولیکن گل من نگمان دار که رفتی و فراموش شدی
Perfect timing. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday night reading of 1001 Nights. I hope you are all very well. Don't forget that next Saturday we will be having our very special anniversary reading with live music by Cairene who you just heard on the piano, and Saman will be joining us again finally for our very special anniversary reading, because we have been reading 1001 Nights for over a year, and we are going to be at the very beautiful Palais Kempinski in a very, very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful suite. So the last two times we always read in the spa, but this time we are going to be reading in a very, very beautiful suite, and Kamyab will be singing and this time playing the piano, which is very, very special. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you just a little bit closer. That's better. There we go. And I am going to get reading for you. It's really cold in Vienna at the moment. We've had rain, very heavy rain for the last couple of days, and it's been very cold. I actually had to put my winter coat on again, hence the long sleeves, unfortunately. So we were talking about a story of Abu Suwayd and the pretty old woman. And Abu Suwayd had discovered this old woman who looked incredibly beautiful for her age. Now, when it was the 424th night, Scheherazade said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that..." Abu Suwayd continued, "When I spoke these words to the ancient lady," and those words were that he found her incredibly beautiful, and why did she not dye her hair black instead of keeping it white, because then she would look even younger. To the dame, she raised her head towards me, and opening wide her eyes, recited these couplets. I died. What years have died? But this my staining last not, while that of days in eye remaining. Days when beclad in gear of youth I fared, raked fore and aft by men with joy unfeigning. I cried, by Allah, favoured art thou for an old woman? How sincere art thou in thine after pine for forbidden pleasures, and how false is thy pretence of repentance from forwardness. And another tale is that of the Emir, Ali bin Tahir, and the girl, Muunis. Once on a time, there was displayed for sale to Ali bin Muhammad bin Abdallah bin Tahir a slave girl called Muunis, who was superior to her fellows in beauty and breeding, and to boot an accomplished poetess. And he asked her of her name. Replied she, Allah advance the Emir, my name is Muunis. Now he knew this before, so he bowed his head a while, then raising his eyes to her, recited this verse. What sayest of one by sickness caught, for the love of thy love, till he waxed distraught? Answered she, Allah exalt the Emir, and recited this verse in reply. If we saw a lover who pains as he ought, we love, we would grant him all favours he sought. She pleased him, so he bought her for 70,000 dirhams and begat on her Ubayd Allah bin Muhammad, afterwards Minister of Police. And now we are told by Abu al-Aina a tale of, this one's going to get saucy, the woman who had a boy and the other who had a man to love her. Quoth Abu al-Aina, there were in our street 2 women, one of whom had for a lover a man, and the other a beardless youth. They foregathered one night on the terrace roof of a house adjoining mine, knowing not that I was near. Quoth the boy's lover to the other, O my sister, how canst thou bear with patience the harshness of thy lover's beard, as it falleth on thy breast, when he busseth thee, and his mustachios rub thy cheek and lips? Replied the other, silly that thou art, what deck of the tree, save it leaves and cucumber, but its warts? Didst ever see in the world aught uglier than a scald head bald of his beard? Knowest thou not that the beard is to men as the side locks to women? And what is the difference between chin and cheek? Knowest thou not that Allah, extolled and exalted be he, hath created an angel in heaven who saith, Glory to him who ornamenteth men with beards and women with long hair? So were not the beard even as the tresses in comeliness, it had not been coupled with them. Oh, silly! How shall I spread eagle myself under a boy, who will emit long before I can go off and forestall me in limpness of penis and clitoris, and leave a man who, when he taketh breath, clippeth close, and when he entereth, goeth leisurely, and when he hath done, repeateth, and when he pusheth, poketh hard, and as often as he withdraweth, returneth? The boy's man was edified by her speech, and said, I forswear my lover by the Lord of Kaaba. And amongst tales is one of Ali, the Cairene, and the haunted house in Baghdad. There lived once in the city of Cairo a merchant who had great store of monies and bullion, gems and jewels and lands and houses beyond count, and his name was Hassan the jeweler, the Baghdad man. Furthermore, Allah had blessed him with a son of perfect beauty and brilliancy, rosy-cheeked, fair of face, and well-figured, whom he named Ali of Cairo, and had taught the Quran and science and elocution and other branches of polite education, till he became proficient in all manner of knowledge. He was under his father's hand in trade, but after a while Hassan fell sick, and his sickness grew upon him, till he made sure of death. So he called his son to him. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 425th night, she said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that when the jeweler, the Baghdadi, fell sick and made sure of death, he called him to him his son, named Ali of Cairo, and said, 'O my son, verily this world passeth away, but the next world endureth for aye. Every soul shall taste of death, and now, O my son, my decease is at hand, and I desire to charge thee with a charge, which if thou observe, thou shalt abide in safety and prosperity, till thou meet Almighty Allah. But if thou follow it not, thou shalt befall thee much weariness, and thou wilt repent of having transgressed mine injunctions.' Replied Ali, 'O my father, how shall I do other than hearken to thy words and act according to thy charge, seeing that I am bounden by the law of the faith to obey thee and give ear to thy command?' Rejoined his father, 'O my son, I leave thee lands and houses and goods and wealth past count, so that wert thou each day to spend thereof 500 dinars, thou wouldst miss naught of it. But, O my son, look that thou live in the fear of Allah, and follow his chosen one, Mustafa, whom may he bless and preserve, in whatso he is reported to have hidden, and bidden, and forbidden in his traditional law. Be thou constant in alms deeds, and practice of beneficence, and in consorting with men of worth and piety and learning, and look that thou have a care for the poor and needy, and shun avarice and meanness, and the conversation of the wicked, or those of suspicious character. Look thou kindly upon thy servants and family, and also upon thy wife, for she is of the daughters of the great, and is big with child by thee. Happily, Allah will vouchsafe thee virtuous issue by her.' And he ceased not to extort him thus, weeping and saying, 'O my son, I beseech Allah the Bountiful, the Lord of the glorious Empyrean, to deliver thee from all straits that may encompass thee, and grant thee his ready relief.' Thereupon his son wept with sore weeping, and said, "Oh, my father, I am melted by these words, for these are the words of one that saith farewell." Replied the merchant, "Yes, O my son, I am aware of my condition. Forget thou not my charge." Then he fell to repeating the 2 professions of the faith and to reciting verses of the Quran until the appointed hour arrived when he said, "Draw near unto me, O my son." So Ali drew near and he kissed him. Then he sighed and his soul departed his body, and he went to the mercy of Almighty Allah. Therewith great grief fell upon Ali. The clamour of keening arose in his house, and his father's friends flocked to him. Then he betook himself to preparing the body for burial and made him a splendid funeral. They bore his bier to the place of prayer and prayed over him. Then to the cemetery, where they buried him and recited over him what suited of the sublime Quran. After which they returned to the house and condoled with the dead man's son and wended each his own way. Moreover, Ali prayed the Friday prayer for his father and had collections of the Quran every day for the normal 40, during which time he abode in the house and went not forth save to the place of prayer, and every Friday he visited his father's tomb. So he ceased not from his praying and reciting for some time, until his fellows of the sons of the merchants came in to him one day, and saluting him said, "How long this thy mourning and neglecting thy business in the company of thy friends? Verily, this is a fashion which will bring thee weariness, and thy body will suffer for it exceedingly." Now, when they came in to him, Iblis, the accursed, was with them, prompting them, and they went on to recommend him to accompany them to the bazaar, whilst Iblis tempted him to consent to them till he yielded. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 426th night, she said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that when the sons of the merchants went to Ali the Cairene, son of Hassan the jeweller, they recommended him to accompany them to the bazaar till he yielded, that the will of Allah, extolled and exalted be he, might be fulfilled, and he left the house of mourning with them. Presently they said, 'Mount thy she-mule and ride with us to such a garden, that we may solace us there, and that thy grief and despondency may depart from thee.' So he mounted, and taking his slave, went with them to the garden in question. And when they entered, one of them went, and making ready the morning meal, brought it to them there. So they ate, and were merry, and sat in talk, till the end of the day, when they mounted, and returned each to his own lodging, where they passed the night. As soon as the morrow dawned, they again visited Ali, and said, 'Come with us.' Asked he, 'Whither?' And they answered, to such a garden, for it is finer than the first and more pleasurable. So he went with them to the garden, and one of them, going away, made ready the morning meal and brought it to them, together with strong, heady wine. And after eating, they brought out the wine, when quoth Ali, what is this? And quoth they, this is what dispelleth sadness and brighteneth gladness. And they ceased not to commend it to him till they prevailed upon him, and he drank with them. Then they sat, drinking and talking till the end of the day, when each returned home. But as for Ali the Cairene, he was giddy with wine, and in this plight went in to his wife, who said, oh, what aileth thee that thou art so changed? He said, we were merry-making today, when one of my companions brought us liquor. So my friends drank, and I with them. And this giddiness came upon me. And she replied, O my lord, say me, hast thou forgotten thy father's injunction, and done that from which he forbade thee in consorting with doubtful folk? Answered he, these be the sons of the merchants. They are no suspicious folk, only lovers of mirth and good cheer. And he continued to lead this life with his friends, day after day, going from place to place and feasting with them and drinking, till they said to him, our turns are ended. Now it is thy turn. Welcome, and welcome and fair cheer, cried he. So on the morrow he made ready that all that the case had called for meat and drink, twofold what they had provided, and taking cooks and tent pitchers and coffee makers, repaired with the others to Al-Rawza and the Nilometer, where they abode a whole month, eating and drinking and hearing music and making merry. At the end of the month, Ali found that he had spent a great sum of money. But Iblis, the accursed, deluded him and said to him, though thou shouldst spend every day a like sum, yet wouldst thou not miss aught of it. So he took no account of money expenses and continued this way of life for 3 years, whilst his wife remonstrated with him and reminded him of his father's charge. But he hearkened not to her words till he had spent all the ready monies he had. When he then fell to selling his jewels and spending their price until they were also all gone. Then he sold his houses, fields, farms, and gardens, one after the other, till they likewise were all gone, and he had nothing left but the tenement wherein he lived. So he tore out the marble and woodwork and sold it and spent of its price, till he had made an end of all this also. When he took thought with himself, and finding that he had nothing left to expend, sold the house itself and spent the purchase money. After that, the man who had bought the house came to him and said, seek out of thyself a lodging, as I have need of my house. So he bethought himself, and finding that he had no want of a house, except for his wife, who had borne him a son and daughter, he had not a servant left, he hired a large room in one of the mean courts, and there took up his abode, after having lived in honour and luxury, with many eunuchs and much wealth. And he soon came to want 1 day's bread. Quoth his wife, "Of this I warned thee, and exhorted thee to obey thy father's charge, and thou wouldst not hearken to me. But there is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah the glorious and the great. Whence shall the little ones eat? Arise then, go round to thy friends and the sons of the merchants, belike they will give thee somewhat on which we may live this day." So he arose and went to his friends one by one. But they all hid their faces from him and gave him injurious words, revolting to hear, but naught else. And he returned to his wife and said to her, "They have given me nothing." Thereupon she went forth to beg of her neighbours the wherewithal to keep themselves alive. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. So I wonder what's going to happen next in this story. We are going to have to wait until next Tuesday to find out what is going to happen with the rest of the story. I have a feeling that it's going to turn out okay in the end. We don't know, of course, yet, though. So make sure you do tune in next week. Don't forget, next Saturday evening, Saman, Kamyab, and I will be enjoying each other's company at the very, very beautiful Palais Hanson Kempinski, where we'll be doing a very special, finally, we had wanted to do it in March, but we all got so busy that we couldn't, but we will finally be doing our 1-year anniversary celebratory reading. And this time we are going to be with a piano instead of the tar and the guitar. Kamyab is going to play on the piano and sing for us, which will be really, really, really special. So I'm looking forward to that very much. And hopefully there'll be some gifts to give away that evening, as well as a thank you to all our readers for tuning in for a whole year. If you like what we do, you know you can always donate to us, www.paypal.me/Vienna Theatre Project. And as you know, we accept €1, we accept €10, we accept €100, €1,000, €10,000, €100,000, €1,000,000, €10 million. Please feel free to give us as much or as little as you are able. We are grateful for everything that we receive from all of our readers. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. It may be that I get bored over the weekend because we still, I don't know, somebody, Tim. Hi, Tim. I know you're online and I can see you, and Dunya as well. I'm not quite sure whether we can actually go out in the evenings as of Saturday. I believe certainly the coffee houses are opening again in Austria, which is really, really special because we seem to have been in a lockdown certainly since, I don't know, the end of October in 2020. We have been more or less in a permanent lockdown. I think we had 2 weeks just before Christmas where we were allowed out to go Christmas shopping. And then straight, as soon as Christmas happened, we went back into lockdown again. And then last week, or was it the week before, the shops opened again. And now the cafe houses and restaurants and bars are going to open again too. So it's going to be a very interesting and very different life. Let's hope that the COVID figures in this country stay down and that we don't end up in some further lockdown further along the line. So everyone, keep your fingers crossed. All of you stay safe. Make sure you keep disinfecting your hands, wear your masks, don't hang around in too large groups, and just look after yourselves and have a very, very beautiful weekend. And at the very latest, I will see you on Tuesday, unless I get bored and decide to throw a reading of something in one night because I've got nothing better to do. Take care, everybody. Many blessings from me. I hope you had a lovely and enjoyable reading this evening. It was a great pleasure, as usual, reading for you. Good night. Bye-bye.